Good morning, Jim.
Morning, Jay.
All right, Jim, so let's touch on the Twins' loss last night, 4-3. They fall to the Guardians in Cleveland. Kyle Manzardo hit a 2-run home run that completed the comeback for the Guardians. Twins had taken a 3-0 lead. Your thoughts on last night's loss?
Just brutal. It feels like they've had a month of the worst loss of the season type performances. I think last night was particularly gut-wrenching because you lost with your two best pitchers on the mound and with a full complement of position players who just didn't get any big hits for the last 6 innings or so. Just a terrible game. They have a lead. They have their ace on the mound. They have Jackson in reserve. They have Duran in reserve. They have a 3-0 lead at one point, and they end up losing it. Pablo couldn't finish off his outing well enough. It wasn't the sharpest I've seen him, even though he's had a very good second half. And then Jax comes in, gets him out of a base-loaded jam, but then the next inning gives up a 2-run homer that loses the game. Of course, if they stranded 10 runners, if they get a couple more big hits, they probably win that game. So just kind of failure in every way. Also, Royce Lewis had made 2 plays in the last week where he's coming in on a ball, gloves it, and flubs the transfer to his hand. He has not had a good season fielding between some errant throws and some misplays on balls coming in. He's had trouble at third base. They just look like they're just not a good team right now. It's just been a weird season. They were terrible for like the first 3 weeks season. Then they were exceptional for about 4 months, and now they're back to being terrible.
Well, what's dangerous is now there's a chance they could miss the playoffs. I mean, their lead for the last wild card spot's only a game and a half over the Tigers, 2 games up on Seattle.
Well, if they keep playing like this, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I'm not sure you'd want to watch this team in the playoffs. I mean, if this is the way they're going to play, they don't deserve to be in the playoffs.
And they play Cleveland tonight. The pitching matchup last night favored them with Pablo Lopez in the mound, but tonight it's Zebby Matthews. They go up against Gavin Williams, who's been mostly down this year, but when he did pitch against the Twins last time, he was very effective.
Yep. That was really important to win last night's game. They kind of needed to win all of Pablo's starts and all of Bailey Ober starts and then find a way to win once in a while when one of the kids is on the mound. Tough spot for Zebby. He's known for his command and for his composure, but this will test that. He obviously has had a couple of really bad outings. I think one of the bad outings was the opponent was reading his pitches before he threw them, but he also didn't have great command last time around. So, at this point, they kind of need, I don't know, they just need to find a way to win games, and they don't look capable of doing it.
Jim, would you chalk this up to a year similar to the year a few years ago when they didn't make the playoffs because of all the injuries?
I mean, that is the commonality. This is basically, they've won 3 of the last 5 division titles. They had one just year where they just weren't very good. They had another year where injuries really destroyed them down the stretch. This feels like another season where the injuries just took them off the board. I just think if they had, if they had 3 or 4 good if they had Ryan healthy, I think that would have solved a lot of problems. Not only would they have won more of his games, he also would have pitched in the 7th inning, 8th inning more often, and that would have helped them with the bullpen problems. They kind of ran out of healthy arms, but that's not the only problem. Again, Royce Lewis fell off the table. He was their best player for a long stretch, and now he's really struggling. The Correa injury was very big. The Buxton injury was big. And instead of Michael Taylor really playing exceptionally well in Buxton's absence, they really have kind of struggled to find somebody to play well out there. Willie Castro's done a nice job, but he's fallen way off the second half of the season. There's an art to being an everyday player, and Willie Castro has never really been an everyday player, and he just looks really tired right now. Listen, they've had a million things go wrong. The biggest thing is the injuries. I think if they're healthy, relatively healthy all year, then they have enough pitching, they score runs, they'd probably be somewhere up there competing with Cleveland for the division lead. But, their depth just hasn't held up this year.
Jim, how close are players, outfielders like Emmanuel Rodriguez and and Walker Jenkins, are they close enough where they could be contributors next year?
Rodriguez might be close. I don't know that he would. But here's the thing. I mean, outfielders really not the problem. I mean, in fact, the Bucks, you'd like to see Buxton out there more, but he's probably not ever going to play a 162-game season. Corner outfielders, Wallner's been their best hitter and best player for the last month or so. Larnach has been pretty good. Kepler, when he's healthy, is at least a professional outfielder. And they've been able to mix in people like, they've gotten a certain amount of mileage out of Castro and Austin Martin when they've had to play, and Margot when he's had to play against lefties. But I don't think outfield's the problem. I mean, listen, I think Edmund Rodriguez has a chance to be a star. I think Walker Jenkins has a chance to be a star. So, of course, you want them to be, and they're probably both better than Larnach. So, of course, you would like to see them emerge as stars who can elevate the franchise. But it's not, that they don't really necessarily solve the most pressing issues for this team. I think Rodriguez could be in the big leagues sometime next year. I think Jenkins is probably farther away, just very young. And he had some struggles this year before he started figuring things out. So, maybe Rodriguez next year, maybe Jenkins the year after.
Jim, do you think they might look into trading a corner outfielder to try to help out either pitching or a different position?
Yeah, I mean, that's been their pattern. They've developed a lot of really good position players, and they've been willing to trade a certain number of them for pitching. And they have succeeded with a number of their trades. They've also had a lot of the pitchers they traded for end up getting hurt. So I think Rodriguez and Jenkins are people they will not trade. Larnach, what can he get for him? He's a platoon outfielder. That doesn't bring a lot of value. He's done nicely for this team in general, but it's not like he's a huge trade chip. Wallner, do you want to trade Wallner? I actually been told by scouts that the Twins probably are higher on Wallner than other people. Right now, it looks like the Twins are right. He's an impact hitter with a very strong arm, plays really hard. I'm not sure you want to trade him. So, I do think Emma Rodriguez could be your left fielder and a guy you can shift over to center field when Buxton's hurt. He could be very useful. Walker Jenkins, when he gets here, you're going to make a plate. When he's really ready, you are going to make a spot for him. So, yeah, they do have bodies to trade, but I don't know that they want to trade Wallner, Rodriguez, or Jenkins.
All right, Jim, switching attention to the Monday night game last night. I went to bed, thought the Eagles had won this game, and Kirk Cousins, who has not had a good reputation of winning games on Monday Night Football or any primetime games, he brings the Falcons back, touchdown pass to Drake London, and they beat the Eagles in Philly 22-21. Your thoughts on that?
Brilliant last drive. Obviously, he had trouble operating against that defense in that atmosphere for most of the game. He looked a little tentative. Didn't always look like he was on exactly the same page as his receivers. The last drive, it looked easy. I mean, he was throwing. Sometimes 2-minute warning is the best thing that can happen to a quarterback. You stop. It kind of causes you to get rid of your inhibitions, to cut it loose, to throw the ball aggressively, to get in a rhythm, to throw to the first open receiver instead of overthinking it. The defense is playing a little bit passively, so you can connect on under routes. It was really stunning. I think every pass he threw was a sideline pass. It was an out route. And the Eagles just kind of let it happen. And Cousins was very accurate, and they moved right down the field and scored. So credit to him. That was a rough game, and he found a way to win it.
When you look at the NFC right now, who is the best team?
That's a good question.
I mean, we thought it was San Francisco
49ers.
And Philadelphia. We thought it was Detroit, and all three of those teams have all lost a game.
Yeah, but nobody goes undefeated anymore. So, yeah, they all lost a game. Does that mean they're not good teams? No. The 49ers are a very good team. The Vikings played exceptionally well to beat them. The Lions, they lost to a playoff team. The Bucs are good. The Eagles just lost, a game where they were without A.J. Brown. So I think they're all good teams. Who's the best? It's just hard to identify who the best is right now because they're all 1-1. Vikings and Seattle are both 2-0. Are they the best teams in the NFC? I think they have a lot to prove to get before we actually say that. So I would still say the 49ers. I just think they have the best roster top to bottom. And credit to the Vikings for beating that team.
Jim, the Minnesota Lynx are going to play tonight against Connecticut. Now, if they win tonight's game, they secure the 2 seed. Is that right?
Correct. If the Lynx win either of the next 2 games, they secure the number 2 seed. Obviously, the easiest way to do it is just beat Connecticut head-to-head. Connecticut is the one team in the league they have not beaten this year. They lost a lot in the last 10 seconds earlier in the year, and then they lost a game where Collier went out with her injury. So I think they're kind of itching to prove they can beat this team.
And it looks like if they get the 2 seed, they would probably play Phoenix and not play Indiana.
Correct. No, listen, they shouldn't fear Indiana, but Indiana would be a tougher matchup. Indiana would also pack Target Center. So, from a business and visibility standpoint, it'd almost be better if they played Indiana and had all the Iowegians coming up to fill up Target Center. That would be spectacular. But we might see Diana Taurasi in her last game. And Phoenix has a lot of talent. They've had a terrible season. I think the Lynx would take care of them pretty easily.
Jim, when does the playoffs start?
Sunday, Tuesday, and then if necessary, I think the next game would be either Thursday or Friday. So I think you're looking at Lynx on Sunday and Tuesday at Target Center.
What are the plans for the WNBA in regards to expansion?
Well, they already. Boy, I haven't thought about it in a while. I think it's Toronto and Seattle. I haven't looked that up in a long time. Haven't talked about it in a long time. So I think it's Toronto and Seattle are the next 2. And I think you're just going to see the league keep growing. There's so many good players. College basketball is. Oh, I'm sorry. Golden State and Toronto. Seattle already had a team. I was thinking NBA expansion. Golden State, Valkyries, and Toronto, which doesn't have a name yet. So Golden State's coming in next year. Toronto's coming in 2026. And then after that, we'll see.
How about NBA? I mean, is NBA looking at Seattle, Las Vegas?
Seattle and Vegas.
Okay.
Seattle and Vegas. Yeah, I got my leagues confused. Seattle and Vegas are the next ones up.
And what year would they be bringing those on?
Once again, something I haven't thought about in a while. So I think it's 2020. Did I want to say 2026? I'll have to look that up and tell you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem. All right, Jim, if people want to take a look at your podcast, what do you got out there?
Let's see. We have the John Krasinski Show and Viking Update Show coming out this morning. We'll do Dawn of Sports with Erin Chastain, Brandy's sister, who coaches the Gopher soccer team that's off to such a hot start. That'll be out in the next 24 hours or so. And everything's at talknorth.com or on your favorite podcast app. All
right, Jim, thank you. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Jay.
It's Jim Souhan, Star Tribune sports columnist, joining us every weekday morning at this time. Follow him on Twitter at Souhan Strib. Check out his latest column in the Star Tribune or his podcast at talknorth.com. Jim, once again today, brought to you by the Green Mill in downtown St. Cloud. Next on WJON, World and National News from ABC, and that's brought to you by Executive Express.